Hi folks, Dave with DBS Tech Talk, and today we're going to talk about the Bass Audio G12. Now the Bass Audio G12 is a 44mm dynamic open back headphone that is 32 ohms and 105 decibels of sensitivity, has a frequency response of 10 hertz to 25 kilohertz, and it weighs 10.4 ounces. Looks like that. So it comes in a nice little cardboard box, nothing too spectacular, but it is a decent presentation for the price tag. Inside you get some paperwork that tells you how to clean the pads and some information regarding the wiring, which we'll get to here in a moment, and also gives you the specs. It does come with a nice carrying case. It says Bass Audio across it. And when you open it up on the inside, you do have your headphones and two pockets. So here are your headphones. Put those to the side. And then here is what it looks like with the two pockets. It's extremely hard to carry everything inside with the two cables and the pockets, the way that they fit in the earphones, is you have to pack everything down. Anyways, it comes with a 1/4 inch adapter, which is actually quite nice. It's all gold, and when it is connected, if I can do it on camera here, it doesn't come off very easily. It's nice and snug, which is nice. The first cable is a 1 meter or 3 foot portable cable, and it has metal connectors, 2.5mm inputs, goes to a fairly chunky split. And then you have your 3.5, also has the branding on it, and it's got a Kevlar coating. It's not bad, works very well for portable use, which is how I recommend you use these headphones. Next up is the very interesting 3 meter cable, and it has your 2.5 millimeters blue and black. Usually in the audio world, blue means left, black or red means right, and on these it is reversed. So the blue is your right and black is your left. Causes a lot of problems. You wire your headphones backwards if you don't read the manual or pay attention to what I'm saying in the video, and you will have right coming out of your left and vice versa. So you have to wire the right with the blue and black with the left. The other problem that I had constantly was, once I had them wired properly and I took them off, which you'll do quite frequently with these for many reasons which we'll get to, and you go to pick them up, your brain goes blue is left, and so you're just constantly putting them on backwards. So beware of that oddball. Other than that, the cable's fairly decent. Reminds me of kind of a Sennheiser type cable, and it's 10 foot long, so it's a little bit long. Does default to a 3.5, but it's an adequate cable other than the oddball wiring. The headphones themselves are very Grado-esque, more of an industrial look of Grado. Very extremely open. If you look through, you can actually see the camera. I can see the camera right there, so there's no dampening on them. They are 100% open, and more about that in a moment. The comfort is a massive problem with these. Now they only weigh 10.4 ounces, but the problem is about 8.5 ounces of that, or maybe more, is in the ear cups themselves, and so the driver and the ear cups are extremely heavy, and they cause a lot of pulling and tugging on the ears, which leads you to, well, you need a good headband that disperses that weight, and this is not a good headband. It is, to say lackluster in padding is an understatement. This has absolutely no padding whatsoever. There's more padding on the top part than there is on the bottom, and it's extremely snug, and the clamp force is crazy on these, and So that causes problems. And then on here you can see the shape of it and how it is formed. There's two wires that go through this tubing, and they are like pizza cutters on the top of your head, and you just get a groove just sliced across as this just pulls down on your head. The next problem that adds to the discomfort is the slider is angled, so the more you have to pull your headband, the angle just digs into your head. It just causes the clamp force to get worse, and as you spread it out, it just doesn't even out. Now the ear cups do swivel all the way around. There's a little bit of marking here, L for left, and then a copyright. So when they go on your head, as you push down the headband to hold them in place and secure them, the clamp force just starts to go in, and you get fatigue right here on your jawline and then on the top of your ears, because these are on ear. And that leads to another discomfort problem, because the Grado ear pads are extremely shallow, and this cover that they have on the driver is a felt that is sandpaper would be the way I would describe it. It's not soft whatsoever, and so since these are so shallow and you have the gripping of that, it just rubs your ears raw, and I just find these to be extremely uncomfortable. Give me a regular old Grado. I would take a Grado SR 325 SR 80 over these in a heartbeat for comfort, and I'm not a big fan of Grado comfort, but these things are uncomfortable. The pads can be replaced, and you can use the G-Cush pad, which is a lot thicker and a lot more comfortable. Fits over the ear. You do not feel that sandpaper underneath rubbing up against you, and comfort wise is vastly improved. Does a whole lot better of supporting the weight of those ear cups, and the headband isn't as much needed. The problem is the G-Cush pads affect the sound too much, and so you get a wider spaced out sound, but because of the way that these do soundstage, which we'll get to, that causes a massive problem with spacing and just overall thinning out the sound, and you lose bass impact, you lose mids fullness, and you get all treble. And yeah, so as much as I enjoy the comfort of the G-Cush, I didn't enjoy the sound whatsoever, and that leads me to, do I enjoy the sound with the stock pad? More than I do with G-Cush. I do recommend you use the stock pad, as much as it's painful. If you want to listen to these, I would recommend the stock pads on them. So how do they sound? Sharp and aggressive, shouty, and lackluster. So the bass on these is extremely rolled off, even though they supposedly go down to 10 hertz. No, they have a bass presence that is in the mid bass only. About 70 hertz and down is completely rolled off. There's absolutely no sub bass whatsoever, or lower bass regions in these. It is very much non-existent. So this is a mid bass and upper bass presence only, and you have a bloated sound to it that lacks details and clarity. Now it has enough details in it for the price point, but these aren't detail kings when it comes to the bass. The other problem is it distorts extremely easily and becomes a very jumbled and mumbled on busier tracks. And the mids have a bleed from the bass, so you get a little bit warmth and fullness in the lower mids area, which really enhances male vocals, and acoustical instruments sound fairly nice. Now the tonal qualities of the Bass Audio G12 is a little off. I wouldn't call these to be tonally accurate. The timbre is a little lackluster also, but it's not too distracting as much as other factors that we'll get to. It's adequate, but it's not great for the price tag. Male vocals definitely sound better, and acoustical instruments sound a whole lot better than anything else. As you start to go through the mids, when you get to the middle and go towards upper mids, which is about 1K and to about 8K, it is very thinned out, and you lose a lot of that fullness to it, and the texture really becomes lacking. You become very shouty, they're very forward and very aggressive, and they have a harshness and a grain to them that is very, very troublesome. So from about 1K to about 8K, it's about a 20 dB reach up, and then at 8 dB it's just a sheer cliff. It's not a curve and a slope down, it's a sheer cliff. And then there's a few squigglies to kind of try to give a little air and clarity and details as you extend out into the treble. But that 8K peak is just extreme, and it's very noticeable and very prominent. And you get the details, they're there, but they come in at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and they're just constantly bashing in on your ears, and it just hurts. If you want to know what tinnitus is, put a pair of G12s on and listen to Mariah Carey, Celine Dion, Reba McEntire, Sandy Patty, some orchestral music, anything with a lot of cymbal work, and you will get tinnitus rather quickly. The treble has a nice tone to it, but it's so rolled off in the upper treble that dropped off, that you don't really get to enjoy the extension that it does provide. It's just so prominent in the upper mids and lower treble region that it just overrides everything else on the mix. Soundstage is also extremely odd. You get a wide soundstage because these things are so massively open, and you would think that it would space out nice and do good imaging, and these do not do good imaging whatsoever. They're just so compact. So it's like taking a big room with tall ceilings and putting 10 or 15 people in it, and you put them directly in the middle of the room, and then you have them sing. So you have all this space over here that isn't used because it's focusing everything right here, and it's very odd. And then when it does do anything traveling across, it's just very compact. The Bass Audio G12 plays the best with low impedance outputs. If you put it on anything that has a higher output impedance, they struggle. They will distort in the bass, and they will become extremely shouty and very aggressive in the treble regions. So everything on my desk, anything from the THX AAA 788 to the Geshelli stack, to the LCX and CTH from Cavelli, to the iFi Audio Pro iCan, the JDS Labs Atom, I couldn't find a happy medium with the desktops. Now, some songs sounded great, especially like acoustical music, things like that sounded alright, but as soon as you started to go through my playlists, which I'll link down below, treble playlist and the bass playlist, and it was 1 out of maybe every 10 songs was okay. Everything else was a skip immediately, or just grimacing in pain as you listen to it. You put them with a dongle or through a phone or through a DAP and listen to them at 50% volume or less, and these were okay. But whenever you wanted to have a moment of, I really want to hear the details, or I really enjoy the song, I want to boost it up a little bit, and they would shred your ears, and it was instantly volume back down. I wanted to enjoy the Bass Audio G12s. I wanted to see if there was an alternative to Grado with a somewhat better build quality, and unfortunately I can't recommend these. The build is lackluster, the sound is mediocre at best, and they just have too many flaws. Get yourself a Grado SR325. You'll have cleaner treble, more control, and better mids that are forward and more full and more natural sounding and actually tonally accurate. And then bass that is detailed, but even though it's not really prominent, it's just more detailed and clear. And a soundstage that actually spaces out in images well. The Grado SR325, hands down, is the winner over the Bass Audio G12. In fact, the Grado SR80s are better than the G12 at the $150 price point that these are going for. This has been Dave with DBS Tech Talk. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen is going to be a notification link and subscriptions. Actually, subscription link and notification bell. There we go. If you haven't already, please check those off. And if you really enjoy this channel, would like to see more content, or have questions regarding it, or would like to support it in some way, join us on Discord, check out my playlists, check the links out down below. Thanks, and have yourself a fantastic day.